until the moment when you had to start taking PEP?
Once a time, I was having a boyfriend, but my boyfriend couldn't allow to go for HIV testing. So I also put him in a condition whereby he's going to use a condom. But one day, he refused to use it. So we went live. And whereby one of my friends came and told me he's positive. So I have to go to the hospital. Kati nagenda mu ddwaliro nentuuka nenyonyola omusawo ekyabaddewo nekiriko yo boyfriend wange whereby he doesn't allow to go for HIV testing. Kati omusawo nangamba agenda kunkebera tulabe results zigenda kuvayo zitya. Kati omusawo bwe yankebera my results were negative. So she has to give me PEP, and she told me to use that PEP for 28 days. Then after, I go back to the hospital for HIV testing. Kati PEP oyo namumira okumala enaku z'omwezi 28 musonga bwe yangamba. Kati wezaggwawo nengenda mu ddwaliro and my results were negative.
So Fiona, when you started taking PEP, what were the changes that you could observe about your body and just your general well-being?
The side effect I received was headache. Sometimes I feel I want to vomit. Yeah.
So you said the doctor talked to you about what to do, what not to do as you're taking PEP. So what were some of the foods that you were taking, and how did those help you in that time?
Musawo yangamba nina okukozesa fruits. Neyangamba oba nkozesa PEP sinywa mwenge. Bwe yangamba mpaka nga ziweddewo. Nali mpulira nga njagala kwekweka, saagala kugambako mikwano gyange. Pozi mukwano gwange omu eyampa advice okugenda mu ddwaliro gwe nagambako yekka.
Naye nga yakuwa reaction ki?
Eyayampa reaction, omusajja oba tasobola agenda kwekebeza, ndina okumuleka nenfunayo omulala. Era kye nakola namuleka. Later on, like 2 years, after 2 years, nenfunayo omulala.
So we are now taking PEP, and so life changed from there. You say you got a different boyfriend. Tell us about him. What was the new boyfriend like, and how did that story go on to change your life too?
Kati oyo omulenzi yaddako omulala. Ye naye era yali ng'oli, naye yali taagala byakwekebeza, naye already nze nali ngenda nga neekebeza nga bambula results ziri negative. Kati nenzija nenfunamu ekirowoozo ekyokugenda ebweru. Nentandika ku processinga, netugenda mu medical nga bw'obimanyi training, nensasula buli kimu. Kati later on, last medical, we twagenda ku last medical, we bagenda okunkebera, results zajja nga ziri positive. Kati we zajja nga ziri positive, nengenda nengamba oyo omulenzi gwe nali mbeera naye. Nemugamba naye abasawo abantwale bweru bangamye kino ne kino ne kino. Kati mbadde njagala tukole ki? Tugende twekebeze. Naye era okugenda okwekebeza yo already yali amanyi kyali. Already ng'ali ku ddagala. Yes. Kati we twagenda okwekebeza ye n'abulira omusawo already ewamirira eddagala. Kati nange we bankebeera era ne bijja bwe bate nange ne bantandisa eddagala. Up to now, era ndi ku ddagala.
So the new boyfriend hid his status from you, and he didn't tell you that he was taking medicine, but ARVs in this case. But then I've heard that when you take ARVs, you cannot make someone else sick. So how come in your case then you got sick? What did the doctor say was the problem?
Kwekyo omuntu wabeera ku ddagala ngoba ng'alimira bulungi nga viral load eri suppressed. Kituufu tasobola kusiiga munne, naye era tulina eddagala gye bayita PrEP. Omuntu gy'asobola okukozesa nga ali negative, nga omuntu ali positive nga tasobola musiiga, nayo weeriri. okusinziira abasawo nga bwe bansomesa. Yes.
That was very unfortunate that he didn't tell you about his status. All right, so when you discovered now that you were sick, that he had hidden all this from you, how did you go about that? What was your reaction? How were you feeling in your spirit?
Okunziza emabega ekyo era nakaaba nebigwa nengenda mu ddwaliro abasawo ne bampa kansiringi nentandika eddagala.
I can imagine the situation. You cried, but at least you got counseling and then you had to calm down. So now away from that, let's look at your life today. How is everything unfolding for you now that you're taking the ARVs and you're living your life? What do you do and what do you avoid to do? What keeps you going?
Ebyo ebiseera engeri gye era gye bangamba nange nentandika eddagala nemmera nga nimira bulungi nga ngenda mu ddwaliro virod yange eri bulungi eri suppressed. Kati waliwo ekitongole kye bayita MJAP, Makere Joint AIDS Program, ne bampita ne bantraininga ne bampa omulimo. Kati saawa zino nzasomesa abalwadde bannange era nkola nga peer counselor ku ddwaliro ry'ekiruddu nga MJAP yensasula.
That's good. I'm happy that you're surviving, you're thriving. And finally, what message do you have for our viewers that might have gone through the same situation, but also what gave you the confidence to come out and speak on TV about your condition and your status?
Kati ngenda kusooka kuwa advice abalwadde bannange tumire bulungi eddagala gyaffe tulimire buli lunaku ng'abasawo bwe batugamba, tujye bulungi tunywe amazzi bwe kityo. Ate n'abalala bali negative nyongera okubakubiriza tugende mu lwaliro twekebeze. Tuyina eddagala gye bayita PrEP gy'osobola okukozesa nga tofuna kawuka. Tuyina n'eddagala gye bayita PEP ekola nga waakava mu kikolwa nga weekengera nti n'omuntu gw'obadde naye ali suppose kuba nga alina akawuka. Kati w'okozesa egyo eddagala tosobola kafuna. Ekyampadde confidence nenvayo nenjogera ku TV kukubiriza abalwadde okugenda kwekebeza bamanye obulamu bwabwe nga bwe butambula.
All right, that's very encouraging. We thank you so much, Fiona, for your time, and we wish you the very best. Once again, you're welcome to NTV Medical Matters. We are supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I'm Viola Xasia, and what you just watched is Fiona's story, living with HIV after her boyfriend exposed her to HIV because he was positive and he never told her about it, but rather kept it a secret. And today she's living HIV positive. It could happen to you, it could happen to me. So this is the discussion we are going to have today. But first, I will take you through a little bit of statistics regarding the Ugandan population. Now, in Uganda AIDS Commission's most recent 2025 report, the country has made significant progress. AIDS-related deaths dropped from about 56,000 in 2010 to about 20,000 in 2024. And new HIV infections fell from 96,000 to 37,000 over the same period. Uganda's HIV prevalence is now estimated at 4.9%, away from the double-digit figures in the 1980s. But despite this progress, new infections continue and the global mortality burden remains high. As we mark the World AIDS Day, it's timely to ask how accessible, understood and effective are PEP and PrEP in Uganda today. So in studio, I already have a doctor who has joined us, and that's Dr. Flavia Matovu Chiwewa. She is from JHU Care Uganda Limited, and we shall start immediately off, Dr. Flavia, from understanding the difference between PEP and PrEP.
Thank you so much for this question. So both PEP and PrEP are highly effective interventions for protecting one against HIV. Like you've said, HIV burden has gone down significantly in the last years because of the different efforts, including pre-exposure prophylaxis and PEP to a given extent. So the two are different approaches to preventing HIV. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, one is taking an intervention before they are exposed to HIV. And then post-exposure, one has been exposed, and still they can be protected within a given time period. Okay. So for PrEP, we use ARV medications that are used for treatment, and one is given these medications, preferably within the shortest time possible, but not exceeding 72 hours. If you start within 2 hours, the better. A day, good enough, but not exceeding 72 hours. And we have used this intervention for quite some time, and many people have been able to protect themselves. For example, someone has been assaulted sexually, they've been raped, someone is medical people who are operating in theater, and then you prick yourself accidentally. Someone has slept with another person, and then they realize, oh, I don't even know their status, or they're positive, they find out they're positive. You can go to a health facility, and then you get PrEP as an emergency. While for PrEP, you plan it, you know you're at risk of HIV, you have continuous risk, and then you're given antiretroviral medications. Again, the regimens are different, and then you are able to protect yourself against HIV, and you take it continuously as long as you are at risk. For PrEP, it's an emergency. You take it for 28 hours, and then you don't need to continue because the risk shouldn't be continuous. If it's continuous, then you qualify for PrEP. Yeah, so that is the difference between PrEP and PrEP. One is an emergency, taken within a given period, 72 hours, and it's for a time period, 28 days. While PrEP, the risk is planned, you know you're at risk, and then you take it continuously until you are out of risk. Yeah. So
I think we shall talk about PrEP first, so that we don't mix the two and confuse our viewers. Yes. So PrEP. So what is there to know about PrEP exactly? And when you say that when you're at risk, does that mean you can actually live at risk for how long can you live at risk? And for how long should you take PrEP? Yeah, so let's talk about everything there is to know about PrEP now.
Yeah, so I'm going to use the analogy of someone who is at risk of getting malaria, severe malaria. So we have tourists, we have people who are within Africa, but they travel to outside countries, and then they come back here. They're at high risk of getting severe malaria. They can get malaria, but a severe form. So what happens is, before they travel, they consult their health workers, their physicians, to prescribe medications that treat malaria. So you take your anti-malarials before, because you're going to be exposed while in Uganda or while in Africa. So you take your medications like a week or two before you travel, and then you have to take while you are here in Africa, and then also for some time, some weeks after you have left. You are at risk when you are here in the area that is exposed. So you take your medications. The medications are going to get into your system, into your bloodstream, into your body, so that by the time you're exposed to malaria, you have drug in your system to protect you against that disease, in this case malaria. So similar to HIV, if you are at risk of HIV, for example, people who are in discordant relationships, people who, especially if their partner is not taking their medications well, because you know if they are taking, then the viral load is suppressed and you may not be at risk. But people who are trading sex, people who have multiple partners, people who travel a lot, truck drivers, and they're in situations that expose them to having other partners besides their primary partners, they're at risk of HIV. How long they're at risk of HIV? Until they determine that I need to be faithful to my partner. Yeah. Until they decide that maybe if they're students, I need to abstain. So the risk is there, and you can tell, because these are adults, you can tell that now I'm at risk. So we have a new intervention. It's not new. Since 2017, Ministry of Health has been offering pre-exposure prophylaxis to people who are at high risk of HIV. And again, like I said, for malaria, we use the very drugs that treat HIV. They are fewer, there are 2 drugs in one compared to 3 for treatment. So we have the Truvada, which has 2 drugs, and it's been around for some time. We did the research some time back, 2012, 2010, and PrEP was approved, oral PrEP was approved by the Food and Drug Administration. It was authorized here in Uganda by National Drug Authority, Ministry of Health, has been giving PrEP since 2017, August. It's in very many facilities. So you go and get your pill a day, and then you take it consistently, and you'll be protected for as long as you're using it and taking it consistently. So
when you talk about PrEP and someone being in a consistent situation of exposure, of possible exposure, so if someone is trading in sex and they need to take PrEP, for how long is it safe to actually take that drug if they don't even intend to stop? with their business?
So for how long should they take it?
How safe, yeah, how safe?
Oh, that's safety of the drug.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So before these medications are registered, are licensed by the highest bodies internationally, by our drug authorities here in Uganda, you have to have concrete safety data on these products, these medications. So we know that the drugs we are using are very, very safe. We conducted the research partly here and partly other parts of Africa and the world, and we have data to conclude that the drugs that we're using are very safe in the human body.
I understand that part. However, is it really advisable for someone to stay on PrEP for that long if they intend to stay in the business, for example?
For as long as someone is at risk of HIV, they can stay on the PrEP. We have different formulations of PrEP. We know that for the most available method, because now we have other methods becoming available. For the most available methods, that is the oral PrEP that's been around for some time. The biggest problem has been adherence. Like you're expressing, I could see your facial expression, like how long can someone swallow a tablet every day? For how long will they take it? Yeah. So many people have been challenged. They have challenges with taking that pill. So many of them start and they stop. But you could stop today and you get HIV tomorrow. So we realize that that's a very challenging situation for someone to take medications when they're not sick.
I didn't, exactly. I never imagined there is a drug out there that is safe for a human body to be taken over that long period of time. And that's why I keep insisting, is it
Safety is not the issue, but the issue is adherence and persistence, because that you can get tired and then tomorrow, since people seroconverting, like becoming positive after they've been on PrEP for some time, then that they are like, I'm tired, and then they catch the infection. So we realize that that's a very big problem, challenging situation, especially for the young people. Like you, people who are like diabetic and hypertensive take their medications. That person is treating a disease,
you know. Actually, that's someone treating. But here, I'm not sick.
You're not sick.
I'm not sick.
You're at risk of getting HIV, and you could get sick.
Am I not at risk of side effects from the drug then?
The drugs are very safe. So by the time
they have no side effects?
Very minimal, especially in the first like 1 month. You could get some nausea, you could get some vomiting, some headache, but they are generally very safe. But all medications have side effects. So you look at the benefit over the risk, but they are very, very safe.
I think I would rather stop the exposure than be at risk of...
Stop your risk?
Yes, stop my risk.
That's what we want. That's actually what we want.
Stop my risk.
You know that it's not possible for everyone.
Yeah,
so we have young girls who are working in bars, who are working on farmlands, who are working in factories, who have no means of survival. Yeah. And the only way they can survive is through trading sex.
So what happens
when women who are married and the men are moving around, and you want to be healthy and you need to be in the marriage? There are many situations, so you cannot say, I'm going to stop the risk just like that. So for some people, that risk means survival. Okay. So we have come up with newer interventions that have fortunately been also researched upon, and we are very sure that they can protect people from HIV, and they are longer acting, just an injection and then you're protected from HIV. So for a viewer who cannot stop the risk, what are they supposed to observe while living on PrEP? Yeah, so while taking PrEP, you are supposed to, the current PrEP that we have, take it consistently around the same time every day. So if you are going, some people don't sleep at night, you know that. So we shall tell those ones, you probably take when you're going to sleep, especially in the first few months to minimize the side effects, but they are very minimal. But then for most people, if you are going to sleep at night, then also take in the evening when you're going to sleep. But take consistently around the same time. I'm very interested. I'm very interested in the reaction of PrEP in the human body, especially after a very long time of taking it, and that's why I'm asking. So the food, what to avoid, what not to eat, what to eat. Is there any rules there? Nothing. You can eat. You can take your drugs before food, after food, with every food. With alcohol and cigarettes and all that. Oh, so we don't advise. There are no direct interactions between the method you are using and alcohol, but we know that. Alcohol impairs the liver, and then most of the drugs, including the PrEP you're using, they are broken down in the body by the liver. Yeah. So if your liver is already damaged, and then you're taking PrEP, then the drug may not work for you. It may not be metabolized well. It may even further injure the liver. So we don't advise people to take alcohol a lot. But we give it people who take alcohol because
that's what I was pushing
puts
for,
them at risk of HIV.
It's what I was pushing, but that's why I push it so hard, because you have PrEP and then you have this young man living in the bar or doing whatever they're doing really that exposes them to HIV, and then they're living on this, this lifestyle and then the PrEP. So I really got concerned.
Yeah, many people you'll find who are on PrEP, they're living that lifestyle. They drink. There's not a lot of smoking here, but maybe they're on drugs of recreation. Yeah. But that's what puts them at risk of HIV. And PrEP is meant for those people, because many people are like, now you are giving our people PrEP so that they can go and sleep around. No, we are giving them PrEP because they are sleeping around and so that they cannot get infected. Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, without the PrEP, they would have gotten infected. They may not be able to change. Of course, the health workers will always counsel them on risk reduction, but it's not always practical, like we have said. People are in situations that are exposing them to HIV. Even those whom you think are very empowered may not be very empowered, especially women.
All right. Yeah. So what are the requirements for you, a health worker, to give out PrEP?
Yes. So first of all, I didn't mention that for you to take both PEP and PrEP, you have to be HIV negative. So we have women who are, individuals who are HIV negative. You have to be tested and confirm that you don't have HIV before you take PrEP. And then the instructions are very clear. Take your oral PrEP. We have different forms of PrEP. We shall get to the injection. But you're supposed to have those instructions, adhere. If you don't take a given intervention, it will not work for you. You have to have it in your system. The drug has to be in your body, in your system, for it to work. So without having enough drug in your body, if you take today, you miss tomorrow, then if you're exposed to HIV through sexual encounters, you can easily get HIV. So it's very key that once you start, keep on your method. Okay. Take it every day, get reminders, get a support system, and keep on your drug. Just like for treatment, even for PrEP, you need to be consistent for it to work. Okay, so we have Dr. Flavia Matovu Chiwewa here in studio with us. She's talking about AIDS and PrEP as well as PEP. What's the difference? When should you take it? How does it work? How will it help you? So much about HIV/AIDS as we mark the World AIDS Day. This is NTV Medical Matters. We shall take a short break, but when we return, we shall add more. When are you supposed to go for PEP or PrEP, and how effective is it? It's NTV Medical Matters. Welcome back from that break, and we are discussing HIV/AIDS, but also the possible and available prevention measures in order to keep our population safe, especially here in Uganda. My name is Viola Sasha, and on this show we are supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In studio we have a doctor, that's Dr. Flavia Matovu, and she's here with us breaking down some of these methods that can actually keep you and I safe while we're out there in the community. We actually watched a story from one of the victims of such conditions. That is Fiona. She lives in Entebbe, and she was in Munyonyo, I beg your pardon, and she was talking about how she got exposed to HIV by a boyfriend, and now she has a question for the doctor. Let's watch and see what Fiona wants the doctor to answer.
Kati kyembadde mbuuza nga nze Fiona Ninsiima oba waliwo dokita mpuliriza ebiseera ebisinga nga mikwano gyange abali ku ddagala tugenda ne tubakebera nga tukosa ditamine naye nga nze kimanyi bali ku ddagala naye research zijja nga ziri negative. Kyembadde njagala kumanya lwaki.
That is Fiona asking question directly to the doctor, so I'll give her platform to answer.
Fiona, webale ekibuuzo ekyo ate webale n'obuvumu okuvaayo oyogere ku mbeera gy'olimu abala bayigireko. Kyembadde ngamba omusawo ono nti omuntu akozesa ennyo PEP oba agenze okufuna PEP, abasawo babeera balina okulaba nti wojjidde ku PEP oyinza kubanga ate osaanira ogenda ku PrEP. Kati era abatuliza abali eyo omuntu abanga azze for PEP kiba kitegeeza nti akatyabaga ke yabaddemu kayinza okuddamu mu kaseera akalala. Era kiba kirungi nnyo abasawo ne bakuyamba ne bagamba ozze kukola okufumira PEP naye bw'omala PEP ono otandike neki ne PrEP oba nga tofuna akawuka naye kati kyali kibi nti wafuna akawuka naye ate era twebaza nti watandika eddagala ate oli muvumu nnyo ate ogenda kuyamba n'abano bangi abalala okuba nti tebabeera mu mbeera eno oba nti bamira eddagala lyabwe bulungi. Kati ogambye emikwano gyo waliwo abali ku ddagala naye ate ne babanga ki nga test zaabwe ez'akawuka HIV test zivaayo nga ziri negative. Kino tekitera kubeerawo. Tumanyi nti test zino ez'akawuka the tuyita nesooka ko rapid test lisigala nga omuntu ziraga nti olina akawuka abantu kibabuzaabuza oluusi ne baga nti negative ye viral load bw'omira bulungi eddagala lyo akawuka mu musaayi gwo kagenda kukka kakka nnyo nnyo n'oba nga ebyuma byaffe wano tebikalaba kati oli ajja gamba nti ndi negative naye nga ategeeza nti ali suppressed nti akawuka kasse mu musaayi amira bulungi eddagala lye era agende mu maaso ng'akola ki ng'amira so si kuba nti ali HIV negative. Ebiseera ebisinga oli bw'agamba nti baŋŋambye nti akawuka tebakyakalaba test eri negative batakitegedde bulungi ndowooza oluusi abasawo babeera bize oba omuntu abatakitegedde bulungi naaba nga bannyonnyodde naye nga tategedde bulungi nti kitegeeza nti okoze bulungi nnyo well done omize eddagala lyo bulungi nnyo you've taken your medications very well even the virus is now undetectable naye osigala nga okyalina ki akawuka era genda maaso ng'omira bw'eba nga test eri rapid nga yali negative abasawo babeera balina okuddamu ne bakebera ddala ddala ne balaba ddala ki ekigenda maaso ne basobola okuyamba naye nga si kya bulijjo okuba nti oba negative ate nga oli positive nedda test eri esooka ya rapid test ya determine olina sigala nga eri positive esigala nga eri positive naye viral load bayinza okuba nga baconfusinga ne determine naye nga webale nnyo ekibuuzo ekyo era ku lunaku luno tujaguza celebratinga obuvumu bwo n'abalala bonna abavuddeyo okuyamba bannaabwe abalina akawuka story egenda kubanga eyigiriza bangi abawala bangi abato webale nnyo Fiona.
Kati doctor, from what you explained, I got a question. So test bwevayo negative, what do you do in the first time if someone is on ARVs and their test is negative, the very first one? What am I supposed to do? Send them back or go back and make sure that they come out?
If the rapid test is negative and someone is on ARVs, then the health workers have to go further and find out, is this person really positive? Were they positive in the first place? Or is there something that is happening? Okay. So we've seen a few in my lifetime, in my practice. I've seen, I think, like 2 people only who were on ARVs and they were negative. I think they got a false positive test. They were started on ARVs, and then later on they come to our research study. We check that they're not supposed to be on ARVs per criteria of joining the study, and then they were negative. We did a DNA, we did everything. They were HIV negative. So before we talk about, like 1 in millions.
Oh wow! Yeah. So before we talk about the injection, when someone's viral load is low, and they're not supposed to, are they not supposed to not infect their partner?
Exactly. If the viral load is undetectable.
Fiona's partner infected her even though he was, on drugs, taking his ARVs religiously. What could have gone wrong?
He was probably not adherent. He was probably not taking his ARVs. And there are situations whereby someone is on their ARVs, but maybe they have some stressful situation, and then we call them viral blips. Viral load goes up like randomly, or sometimes you have some infection, and then the viral load comes up suddenly, but then gets suppressed again. We call them viral blips. So maybe it was that one unfortunate circumstance, and he infected her, but most probably he was maybe not adhering to HIV. Okay. And if she had someone else also, maybe it's not that boyfriend, maybe it's someone else. There's different situations. There are many times when we tell people who are in serodiscordant relationships that you don't need PrEP because your partner is suppressed, and they insist that what? They need the PrEP. So probably the risk is somewhere. Also, I'm not saying that that was the case for Fiona, but you need to explore the context of the situation and find out exactly what could have happened in her instance. But maybe the boyfriend was not adhering to his ARV medications. Yeah, there's no way he could have infected her.
Okay, so let's talk about the injection. I understand there is an injection under PrEP. Could you please talk to us about it?
Yes, so there's a new injection which has been around. We got the news last year, around June. It's over a year now. It's been in social media. It's been headlines in the New Vision, Daily Monitor. We've talked about it with NTV. We've had this injection for some time. It's called lenacapavir, a twice-yearly injection that you can give to someone to protect them from getting HIV. Like we said, you have to use a medication that treats that condition for it to prevent it. So lenacapavir is already being used for treating, but this time, because it is so effective, it's one of the most effective ARVs. So lenacapavir is used to treat people who are heavily treatment experienced, people who have used ARVs first line and they have failed, second line they have failed, third line they have failed. So what next?
What do you mean by failing?
Failing on ARVs. Like we have different levels of ARVs, different classes. So you start on a first line, and then if you're not taking well, or if you get it from someone who's already resistant, because they're getting HIV infected, but that infection you have is from someone who has not been taking, and then already you have a resistant strain, a resistant type of HIV, and then the drugs cannot work on you. So you can fail on your first line, you can fail second line, you can fail third line, but the most common cause of failing on ARVs is you not taking your drugs. Yeah, so people keep on, some people fail if you don't take your drugs. That's why we emphasize take every day at the same time, yeah. So lenacapavir was researched upon, and then in 2022 May, the US Food and Drug Administration licensed lenacapavir, approved it for treatment of heavily treatment-experienced individuals who are resistant to all other, who cannot respond to all other forms of ARVs. So it is very, very effective. So it's manufactured by Gilead Sciences. After seeing how well this drug works, if it can be able to suppress HIV that has failed on all other regimens, they were like, why can't we use it for prevention? So lenacapavir was turned, the indication was turned into prevention. So we researched about this drug here in Uganda, 3 sites, and then South Africa, 25 sites. And the results came out last year in June, and we showed that lenacapavir protected young women. We researched on young girls and young women. It protected them from getting HIV by 100%. There's no girl, no individual in the study called Purpose 1 who got infected while they were on lenacapavir. So it's been approved by US Food and Drug Administration this year. Hardly a year later, we have approval from US FDA, and it's going to be available starting next year. Already in the US, people are accessing lenacapavir. Here we have to go through regulatory more approvals, in-country approvals, before we can access lenacapavir. We have about $1.14 million from Global Fund to purchase lenacapavir. Ministry of Health has revised the guidelines. They're in the process of training health workers currently, and we shall soon be having lenacapavir. 2 injections in a year. Your question about taking pills every day for the young girls is answered, thankfully, and now people will be able to get a method that you walk into the clinic, you get out, no one knows that you got your injection.
Is there an alternative to the injection? Is there a tablet, for example, for us who cannot stand?
We have the current oral prep. You can take your daily pill every day. That is the only option, yeah. Okay. So we have some injections for every 2 months called cabotegravir, also starting to be available. We have CAB in 9 facilities so far in Uganda, yet to be widely rolled out. We have a vaginal ring also, researched on it at Moju, that you insert, and then it's monthly. You remove and replace it every month. They're also starting to be available in given facilities. We have 9 facilities in Uganda that have cabotegravir, that have the rings, and we'll start lenacapavir from those facilities as well. But it's really good news that we're having many options. Like you said, I may not be in for the injection. We shouldn't think that it's a magic bullet that everyone will accept the injection. But some people may accept the tablets. May prefer tablets. Others may prefer a vaginal ring. But the more options we have, the more we have people get onto a method that can suit them, and then the more we can respond to the AIDS epidemic, which is the theme for today's World AIDS Day. Yeah.
So let's talk about PEP. We've sort of put PEP on the side. My most important question about PEP is in how long should someone run to go and get PEP, and how critical or important is time when we talk about PEP?
With PEP, time is the most critical factor. So because you're having an exposure, and then sometimes you may know that someone is infected for sure. Other times you may know that you may not know their risk. For example, in cases of sexual defilement or rape, you don't want to take chances because you may not get the victim to test them at that very point. So you have to rush and have this person assessed and then started on PEP. So mainly we look at the risk. We also have health workers. People are operating and they prick themselves. So the blood splashes in your eyes. There are many instances of someone being at risk of HIV. So you go to a facility. PEP is available in almost all the facilities that, actually all that offer HIV medications. You find PEP in the general facilities and HIV clinics. So you'll be assessed and then you'll be started immediately. But we will require that within 2 hours, you are very safe. Maximum 3 days, which is 72 hours. But some research shows that if you went beyond, we could still try, but there's no guarantee. that you'll be protected from getting HIV. But for people who have taken PrEP, it's very, very effective. We can say it's 100% effective. If you take your PrEP, the chances of getting HIV are really almost not there. If you take it consistently, you're given a regimen. The current regimen that treats HIV is what we give you, and the current drugs. And then you take them every day consistently for 28 days. You're supposed to complete the course of PrEP. We know there are side effects with ARVs, especially in the first 1 month, and it's the exact month you're taking the PrEP, and therefore you're supposed to just persist and find a way of taking your PrEP every day, protect yourself from getting HIV. The people who come for PrEP every other time. So you come this month, and then next month we see you, then after 3 months we see you. So you're supposed to be assessed. Once you get PrEP, many people will not say the truth, that it was my boyfriend, I'm not sure, a new boyfriend, they will say I was raped, I was what. But you dig further as a health worker and find out whether you can help this person to start on PrEP. Because if you're at risk repeatedly of getting PrEP, then that means that you have continuous risk, what we talked about, and therefore you need to start on PrEP. If the risk goes there, it's intentional risk, you agree to being in that relationship, and the risk is not there after some time, you can still have people who have maybe boyfriends who come from Dubai over Christmas, this season that we are in, and you're not sure what this guy, what he has been up to, or what will he be up to. You may have 5 people here in Uganda. Start your PrEP. Yeah. When he goes away, you're not at risk. If you don't have other sources of risk, then you can stop your PrEP. There's no reason why you should continue when you're not at risk. So it is during that time when you are at risk. There's another way we use PrEP these days, so to deviate back to PrEP, called on-demand PrEP. You take it when you feel you need it. The people who may have girlfriends, I'm not encouraging this, but people may have girlfriends, maybe they go out over the weekend and they're not at risk with their primary partners here at home. So they take it when on demand. You need it over the weekend, so you take your 2 tablets before, then take your 2 tablets during, and then take your 2 to 1, your tablet after that. So many men are now, they have embraced on-demand PrEP. I'm helping those who may have gotten HIV and taken it to their wives at home. Oh, yeah. Not encouraging people to start it, but people are using on-demand PrEP. Ministry of Health approved it, and it's in the guidelines. When you take it and then you stop. That is, you are not at risk when you are not taking your PrEP. So we call it the 2-2-1. 2 before, maybe you're going over the weekend. Saturday, you start on Thursday, Friday. Yeah. Saturday, you're going to have the risk, take your PrEP, and then a day after, the risk has ended. And then you stop your PrEP. Then you can resume it when the risk happens again. So this is not to encourage people to go into undesirable behaviors, but it happens, and many men are doing that. Okay. Yeah. So
I'll ask you a separate question away from PrEP, even though we're still having a conversation about PrEP, and this question is about blood transfusion as a way to reduce the load. Is it something you advise, and have you heard about it?
Blood transfusion and?
Yes, draining your body of blood, be positive, HIV positive, and then having new blood as a way to maintain.
That was done long time ago, the earlier days of Philly, Rotaya. Okay. But not anymore, yeah. There are many things that are being tried now, like gene therapy. We are still in the very early stages. There's what we call BNAPs, antibodies that people are looking at to hit the drug, the virus in the reservoirs, like what we said now, that if you take the ARVs, they will hit the drug in the bloodstream. If you stop taking the ARVs, the viral load comes up again, the HIV comes up again. So what is happening there? That means that the drugs we are using hit up to a certain extent and cannot reach certain parts of the body where the HIV can go and hide. So we are looking at now new interventions of being able to hit those reservoirs where HIV hides in the bone marrow, in the lymph nodes, so that when someone gets onto that treatment, it can actually turn into a cure. So it's one of the things, the strategies that are being utilized, researched upon, to see that we can get to deeper parts where HIV hides. And then when someone stops ARVs, the virus comes back. Where is it coming from? Those areas we want to explore and be able to hit the virus completely. But it takes time, research takes time, but it's a new direction that now researchers are looking at. But
speaking about interventions, where does that leave our herbalists who might be watching and wondering or have tried different things and feel better as alternatives to these drugs?
Yes, so I've not heard of any herbal interventions to prevent or to treat HIV personally, but we cannot dispel that traditional medicine has a role to play in most of the conditions that we have. And if someone does their research, they're approved by the authorities, they present their work to the authorities, they approve their drugs, then the world can embrace them. But currently I've not heard about traditional interventions for HIV. What we know is the advisable methods of be faithful, condoms, use PrEP. If you're positive, get onto treatment so you don't infect others, take your medications well. That's what we are advocating for. What
myths have you heard about PrEP and PEP, and would love to debunk today?
Yes, so myths about PEP and PrEP, many people confuse the two. They think that PEP is PrEP and PrEP is PEP, but we've clarified today that PEP is you've been exposed. It shouldn't be continuous. If you've been exposed today, you learn from the circumstances and then avoid further incidences. If you continuously get into those circumstances, then you have continuous risk, and therefore you should get onto PrEP. PrEP is intentional. It's not an emergency like PEP. It's planned risk, and therefore you have to devise means of protecting yourself. Perceive your risk, know yourself, accept, and then seek help. You will get onto different forms of PrEP, and you can be helped. But
I think we have our viewers trying to come through with calls. We shall be taking them as they come. They want to ask you direct questions.
All right.
But in the meantime, I'll ask you how available are some of these alternatives that we have discussed at length? Where are they? Where can you get and find them? How affordable are they? That's a very important question.
Oh, yeah. So fortunately, I'll start from affordability. Fortunately, in Uganda, most of the medications for HIV, actually all, unless if you have your resources and you feel you want to spend. Ministry of Health has been really working very hard to make sure that we get free interventions here. ARVs are available in the facilities. PrEP is available in the facilities. In Uganda here we have several facilities like MAPI, Mulago, different like IDI, like Mildmay, different health centers up country where I work in Mitiana, Movende, Masaka. You'll find PrEP everywhere in the general facilities and in the HIV corners, HIV clinics. So PrEP is widely available, ARVs are widely available. Unless if you really feel you don't want to line up, you can go to private practitioners probably, and they buy and then sell to you. But currently, fortunately for Uganda, we've been covered all through with these medications. So there's no need for someone budgeting for PrEP. Which methods are available for PrEP? We have the oral PrEP since 2017 in the facilities I've mentioned. It's widely available, and we need to get to a point whereby we could actually go. I know, like in South Africa, you can go to an ATM and then put in your card. Instead of dispensing money, it dispenses PrEP. So we want to go to that extent to make it widely available. It's currently available in a few pharmacies also. You don't need to go to a clinic. You go to a pharmacy like Frika, and then you can be able to access your PrEP. So we have vaginal rings, which are beginning also to be available in 9 facilities. I don't have them off my head, but Mapi Mulago is one of them. Mitiana Hospital is one of them, and other facilities, Mukono, Chenjojo. And then we have a cabotegravir 2-monthly injection, also starting to be available in those facilities. And we'll soon be having lenacapavir in those very facilities. And we'll have wider rollout thereafter, because we also had US government coming in and saying they also want to give PrEP, lenacapavir to Uganda. By 2028, they want to give 2 million individuals lenacapavir, including Uganda. Yeah.
Okay. Please talk to our viewers about the importance of making sure that you are very religious about taking your ARVs once you're confirmed to be sick.
Yes, so the only way an intervention can work, the only way a medication can work is if you have it in your system, in your body. So we've seen that many people whose HIV becomes resistant to their medications, who fail on medications because they don't take it seriously. They take today, tomorrow they don't take, then they take in the morning, they forget, tomorrow they take in the evening, like that. If it's a daily intervention, it's very important that you take it at the same time every day. You need a support system. Many times people forget, people are human. Like you rush in the morning, you may have forgotten if someone is on PrEP or on medication. So, but get a support system, get someone to remind you, set an alarm, tag it to something, maybe brushing or dressing up or drinking tea in the morning. Find a way of reminding yourself. But it's very, very important that you have the medication in your body. Otherwise, it cannot work if it's outside your body. So you need to take it religiously and consistently. The keyword is consistency. Take it every day at the same time. If it's interventions that are not taken every day, then also get a schedule so that you can be able to remember. If it's like PrEP and it's, like a vaginal ring every month, probably you say around that time you have your period, you need to remember before you resume, after getting out of your menses, probably you need to insert a new ring here. So find a way of remembering and be able to stick to your intervention or medication. That's
so
how you can be helped. Yeah.
We have a few minutes to go. I would ask you to please speak to our Luganda-speaking audience about some of the most important things they need today, or they need to know today about on the World AIDS Day.
Oh. Yeah. Abatulaba tubasanyukidde mwebale ku olunaku luno olwa World AIDS Day olwamukenenya mu nsi yonna tujjukira bannaffe abatuvuddeko nga bafudde obulwadde buno. Twogera ku kigambo oba ku mulamwa ogw'okweziyiza akawuka ka mukenenya nga tukozesa engeri nnyingi. Waliwo engeri gye bayita PEP n'engeri gye bayita PrEP. Enjawulo eri nti PEP omuntu amumira nga liba ddagala lye tukozesa okujjanjaba akawuka ka mukenenya bw'obanga otuuse mu mbeera obanga osobola ofuna akawuka ako. Obadde teweetegese ebanga nga emergency katugambe, oba omwana ng'oyo bamuvumba gatidde ne bamukozesa ebikyamu, oba omuntu weebase naye nga n'ojjukira nti omuntu ono simanyi nabwe ayimiridde kawuka, oba tugambe weefumisa oli musawo, ebintu bwe bityo, omusawo kugenze mu maaso ng'olongoosa. Tulina enkola gye bayita PEP, omuntu osobola okumira amalagala ge tukozesa gennyini okujjanjaba akawuka gwekozesa n'omira okumala ennaku 28. Enatandika mangu nnyo, tuba twagala nnyo otandike mangu, oba ssaawa 2 otandike, oba lunaku lwennyini nnyini olwo, naye paka nnaku nga 3 awo wetubeera sure nti tukakasa nti ojja kuba ng'otaasibwa. Gyokoma otandika amangu, gyokoma okuba nti emikisa gy'otaasibwa gyeyongera. Naye nga PEP tuba twagala omire bulungi okumala ennaku 28 oleme kuba nti nti ofuna akawuka. Waliwo omukyalo omu gwe nzijukira bambi tugamba tumukolako research najja nga talina kawuka n'akomawo ng'akayina. Nagamba yali ava ku lumbe kumakya ennyo, nayagala addeyo kumakya atwala abaana ku ssomero nga bukya ssaawa 11, n'asanga abasajja ne bamukozesa. Teyayogera, teyatugamba, yakomawo nga akyusiza ng'amyusiza nga ali positive. Naye kale singa yatugamba otuba tumutandisa ku PEP naba nga tafuna kikawuka. Kati bw'obeera mu mbeera eyo toswala, tukira abasawo, tukira abantu b'omanya basobola okuyamba obeere nga weetayiza okufuna akawuka. Tulina PrEP. PrEP tulina enkola kati nnyingi tugenda twongerako naye nga ekiseera kino mu malwaliro tulinayo eddagala ekkere nalyomera omulundi ogwo buli lunaku niriba nga likuziyiza okufuna akawuka ka mukenenya. Tuliyita PEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. Tonaba kubanga ofuna akawuka era tunaba kwegattana muntu akalina akawuka naye weetaaga eddagala lino okuba nga likuziyiza okufuna akawuka. PEP yetugambye obadde ku risiki weebase n'omuntu tuyagala kuziyiza, naye wano tunakwebaka n'omuntu naye nga ogambye nnyinza okwebaka n'omuntu alina akawuka ate nga sitegedde kamira eddagala lino naye liri available gye liri mu malwaliro mangi. Wano e Mulago waliwo MAPI Mulago n'amalwaliro amalala mangi agagaba PrEP.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Our time is spent. It's really spent, but I appreciate you for coming. Yes, our viewers, thank you so much. You'll be able to find some of this information on our social media under the hashtag NTV Medical Matters, but there are several ways you can prevent yourself from catching HIV. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your time today. We shall sign out from here, but the message is clear today on World AIDS Day that prevention is key, and with methods like PrEP and PEP, interventions are available, so please do not die alone and seek help and support from the community. So please stay informed, stay advised, and reduce stigma within the communities. We shall move forward as a population in Uganda. I'm Viola Sasha. It's NTV Medical Matters. We are supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I wish you a fruitful week.